SmartCAM V13 introduces several new enhancements which greatly improve the ability to manage your SmartCAM machining processes. Today we will focus on the recently added container element capability, followed by the powerful use of containers with regenerative processes. Although we are demonstrating this enhancement in production milling V14, which is due out in early 2007, container elements and regenerative containers are found in all SmartCAM V13.5 applications. Container elements allow a sequence of multiple elements of the same step or layer property to be grouped together and represent a single sequence object. Container elements can be assigned an element name and unique description which allows them to be concisely documented in the list view. We've loaded a typical 2.5-axis milling process model that does not yet take advantage of the container elements in order to show their benefit. Note the long list of individual elements in the list view, which makes it difficult to see which elements are layer and which are step. It is also difficult to tell which processes are being performed and in what order. This difficulty in interpreting a job can be particularly difficult when viewing process models created long ago or by someone else. Container elements will make this easier. To begin, we will first use another V13 enhancement, View Filters, to remove the layer elements from the sequence list view. Notice that the sequence is now much shorter as a result of removing the layer elements from view. We now know that all elements displayed in the list view are toolpath. In the list view, we see the rough pocketing toolpath consists of many individual elements. We will now create a container element to group these toolpath elements together into a single sequence object. First, we will select the entire pocket profile by double-clicking one element in the profile. Next, we will choose the Create User Elements Container command and will specify a name and description for the pocket toolpath container, and choose Go to create the container. Notice how the list view now displays a single element for all the pocket toolpath, where previously there had been a long list. Also notice the container name is displayed in the list and the description appears in the readout line when the cursor is placed over the container name. We also want to create a container for the roughing profile. Because the rough pocket and profile toolpaths use the same step, we will create a new container for the rough profile toolpath so they will be easily distinguishable in the list view. Notice how the list view has further been collapsed with the new container. One of the benefits of collapsing toolpath into a single container is when you want to focus on the verification of a single process. Let's verify only the inner pocket with show path. There is no limit to your ability to edit or adjust your container element toolpath. We can make changes now or at a later time. We notice that the rough pocket toolpath is cutting outside in, but we would prefer that it were inside out. So we will expand the elements in the container and make the necessary changes. Now that the container has been unpacked, we will see the individual toolpath elements now appear in the list following the pocket container, which is now empty. Let's go ahead and reverse the toolpath direction. With our direction change complete, we use the Modify command to place the toolpath elements back into the container. Notice how the two roughing step toolpaths are once again represented by two container elements in the list view. Similar to these manually created container elements we've just demonstrated, there is another type of container referred to as a process container. Process containers have all the capabilities and behaviors of manually created containers, adding the ability to store the panel and process parameters used to create the process, including the insert properties and selected geometry references. You can create process containers when using certain SmartCAM process panels, by simply turning on the Insert in Container option. The resulting process container can then be easily modified and regenerated with just a few simple steps. To demonstrate the creation of a process container, we will first delete our Pocket Container element and recreate it as a process container. We now set the Insert position and select the roughing step. We select the Pocket Process panel and we turn on the Insert bar, Insert in Container option. We'll also turn on the selection filter to restrict picking to layer 3. Finally, we will create a new Pocket toolpath using the Pocket Process panel. Notice how the output from the Pocket panel is automatically placed into a process container. To demonstrate the unique capabilities of process containers, we will now load a similar model where all the defined pocket and profile toolpaths were created using process containers, as well as manually created containers for the other toolpaths. Notice how the toolpaths now consist of a simple list of named and described containers in a list view. Documenting a process model in this manner makes it quite easy for anyone to understand the toolpath sequence. Now, let's explore the benefits of process containers. Suppose we have just received feedback from the shop floor concerning this job. We are told they are having trouble with tool breakage during the roughing operations and have suggested that we add an additional depth level to the rough pocketing and profile toolpaths. Since these toolpaths have been defined using process containers, it's a simple matter to make the requested changes. Using the Modify command, we will recall the respective panels and change the depth level settings and regenerate the toolpath. By simply changing the pocket first pass level and regenerating the process container, we have made the necessary changes. We will now modify the rough profile toolpath in a similar manner. As you can see, there is significant benefit to using the container concepts to organize your toolpaths. The element list clearly displays and describes the process sequence, and the containers condense the list to a manageable length. In the case of recalling and modifying process containers, the time savings for reiterations are significant, not to mention they eliminate the risk of introducing new errors when attempting to duplicate parameters and recreate toolpaths. Our testing of the regenerative process containers has shown up to a remarkable 90% reduction in new iteration reprogramming time. To find out more about using manual or process containers, please consult the SmartCAM product help. If you do not yet have the newest version of SmartCAM and are interested in finding out more information, please send an email to sales@smartcamcnc.com.